Hello everybody, this is George Lopez here in Alice Outlet Tech, and in this screencast I will go ahead and show you how to create a Google form, just the basics from start to finish. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started, remembering that I have already done some of this plan ahead, so that's why I've been able to do this quickly. And also remember that Google, usually when you work with Google, there's multiple ways of doing something. So I will go ahead and show you one way, but I'm sure you'll find other ways to be able to accomplish the same task. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the easiest way to get a Google form started is to go to the website forms.google.com, or you can go straight to your Google Drive and click the New button, and then you click More, and then you will see the first option here is Google Forms in purple. All right, once we get in here, it's going to go ahead and launch the template. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change go ahead and change the file name. So what in your Google Drive, what is this going to be called? I'm going to go ahead and name this file. I'm going to call it form example. All right, so there is what the file is going to be called, and I'm going to go ahead and actually name my form, and I'm going to call this my first Google form. There you go. So now I have gone ahead and named the file and the name of my form. I don't know if you noticed, but when I named the file, it gave the title of my form received the same name. So you can keep it that way, or you can go ahead and change it to something that you feel is more appropriate. All right. So the next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and change the theme. You want to change what the layout looks like. To do that, up here on the right hand side, you have a whole bunch of options. So we're going to go ahead and click to this little painter's tool here to go ahead and select the theme. So when I click on here, you can go ahead and insert your own image, or you can choose an image. So I'm going to go ahead and choose an image here. And again, you can upload your own photos or get something from your drive. I'm going to go ahead and just find something here that looks a little bit interesting here. Let's see if we can find something that catches my eye. I kind of like this one here with the butterfly. It's animated, as you can see here. I'm going to click select, and it will apply the theme here. It changes some of the color scheme. You can go ahead and make further adjustments as you want, but in this case, remember that when you are working on getting Google One certified, it's not about how beautiful it looks, it's about following the directions. So there we go. We had gone ahead and created a Google form, named the file, named the form, and now we've gone ahead and changed the theme. I'm going to go ahead and close this here. The theme is now closed. All right. The next part of the task is to go ahead and ask questions, and you can already see here that a question has already been asked on here. So I can go ahead and start right now. So let's go ahead and ask a question on here. The first question that I'm going to go ahead and ask is, what is your name? So what is your name? And what Google does is it recognizes what type of questions you may be trying to ask. So in this case, it changed it to it being a short answer, but I can go ahead and click here and actually change it to different types of questions. Since it did predict correctly what I wanted, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. All right, let's add a different type of question on here. So this time I'm going to go ahead and ask a multiple choice question. And the question that I want to go ahead and focus on here is what is your favorite let's go ahead and what is your favorite season, okay, of the year? All right, and I'm going to go ahead, and the options here are going to be let's start with winter, spring, fall, let's do summer, and fall. So now I've gone ahead and asked a multiple choice question. You do have the option to add the other, to add other in case somebody wants to pick something else, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it like that. So there we go. So I've added a second question. I forgot to show you earlier that when I added a question, what you want to do when you want to add the next question, here on the right hand side, you have this little plus icon here. This allows you to go ahead and add another question. So I've added a open response question. I've added a select the response, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a checkbox because maybe you want them to be able to select more than one option in a question. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. What is your favorite type of dessert. All right, there we go. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do check boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and press this little down arrow here, down pointing arrow here, and I'm going to go ahead and go to check boxes. Check boxes again. The difference between this one is between this first question right here, what is your favorite season, is that you can only select one. In check boxes, you can check more than one. So I'm going to put on here cake, pie, ice cream, and I'm going to put on here, let's see here, ice cream. How about fruit? And finally, I'm going to put on here other. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put, actually, let's go ahead and put other so that they can go ahead and write something in there. Oops, let me see here. I made a mistake here. So to do that, to delete, if you make a mistake, is you press the little X button here to remove that option on here. I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and click, there we go, my options on here. So now other is on there also. Okay, so there, now we have 3 different types of questions. I'm going to go ahead and add, let's see here, add one more type of question, and the final type of question that I want to go ahead and ask, I'm going to press the plus sign on here, select the question here, and I'm going to go ahead and do a drop down menu here. Okay, so this one's a little bit different, so I'm going to click this on here, and the question is going to be, how many siblings do you have? Okay, so I'm going to start with none. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to put on here 4 or more. How about that? All right, so there, and this, notice that this is a drop-down question. So I have my questions on here that I needed to do. So these are the types of questions, and there is other types of questions, but these are some of the basic ones that you should need, that should get you through level 1 of Google Forms certification. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what if you want to change the order of these forms. Well, to do that, you hover over the question that you're thinking about. So let's talk about, let's see here, this question here. So what I'm going to do is I want this to be my second question, because here's my first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag, I don't know if you saw this, but these little 6 dots show up, and that'll, if you grab it from there, you can go ahead and drag the order of a question, move it all the way down to the bottom. So I want this question to be number 2, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it down to number 2. Now I have changed the order of questions. So that's how you can change questions. You can also add a description to your Google form, maybe some directions for your families or students, whoever's filling this out. It could be for your staff. You can complete that. And you can even add images. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to go ahead and, you see this again, I'm going to go ahead to the top because this is where I want my the content. And notice how this little bar here, moves depending on where you're at. So it follows you where you're working. I'm going to go up to the top, and what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add an image. Sometimes, maybe you want an image in your form that you want to add. So in this case here, we have options here. You can add a question. You can add a title and description. You can add an image, video, or a section. I'm going to go ahead and add an image on here. So I'm going to click this plus. And I'm actually going to go ahead and add an image from my computer, but I could go ahead and search Google Drive. I could also go ahead and search the internet and get it from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an image and drag it straight from my desktop here. I have it here. It's related to my first question. So click Insert. It'll take a second to upload your image, and there we go. There's my image on there. It's really big, so you can also resize it here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and then grab it from the corner and decrease the size of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and center it too. So I have other options. If I click on it, I see these 3 dots here, and I can go ahead and align it in the center. There you go. That's how I want it. Remember, doesn't matter what it looks like, just getting the content in there. So there's my image. Now that's how you add an image to a, just to your form. But one of the things that's really, really cool about Google Forms is that you can also add images to the responses. So let's go ahead and look at this question here. What is your favorite type of dessert? So for each of these, when I click on them, you see on the right hand side there's a little add image icon on here. So what you want to do is you want to click on that, and then I'm just going to go ahead and search the internet in this case. And remember that these images that Google searches, that Google brings up for you, are you do have there's no copyright issues. So it's really good that you try to get as many images from within Google Docs so that you don't have to worry so much about copyright issues, and you can be a good digital citizen. So I want a picture of a cake here, so I'm going to click cake, press enter, and here's a whole bunch of options on here. I'm just going to go ahead and pick, ooh, they all look so yummy. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one right here as my image, select, and then it'll insert it. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for pie. For the sake of time, I've gone ahead and sped up through this section of the video. Simply all that I'm doing in this section is adding images to the different responses with regards to ice cream, cake, and dessert or whatever. So again, I just want to save some time, but that is why I have sped this part up. Now I've added, not only have I added an image to my form, I've added images to the responses. These kinds of things could be really, pretty powerful with you know, with English language learners or people or students that are non-readers yet. So those images are pretty powerful. So what if you want to see what your form looks like? Well, if you want to know what your form looks like right now, or it's going to look like to the people once you give it to them to fill out, you up here at the right hand side here, you have some tools. You see this little eyeball here. It says preview. Click that, and this is what your form is going to look like. Notice here's the form, here's the image I added, here's the first question, second question, and so forth on here. So we have all these on here. All right. Notice that here's the other options. So if whoever's responding doesn't want one of these, or they have one of these and something else, they can go ahead and fill it in themselves, whatever they would like. All right. Once you're done, and you want to go back to continue editing your form, just go ahead and click close your tab here, and it'll take you back to the form so you can continue editing. All right, we're going to go ahead and work on a different type of question on here, and this is the one about what is your favorite season. So for this question, what I'm going to do is, perhaps you want the students to watch a video, or you want whoever's responded to watch a video and then respond to it. Well, you can do that also. So this is where I want. I'm going to click here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, you know, because this is a question I'm referring to, and I'm going to go ahead and add a video. So here's the add video icon here. I'm going to go ahead and click it here. And in this case, the video that I want, this question is about the seasons. So I'm going to type on there, I'm going to type on there seasons of the year. Let's see what comes up on here. All right, so we have, let's go with this first one, the seasons song. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It's selected in blue. Go ahead and press this blue box here, and now it has been inserted. Now you notice that here's my question, but my video's below it. It's out of order, so remember to change the order of it. Grab from these little 6 dots here, and then drag it to where you want it. I want it above my question, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and give them some directions. Watch the video below, then answer the question that follows. There we go. So there's that. All right, so once again, maybe this video you could go ahead and resize it if you want to make it bigger or smaller. You can also go ahead and center it. I'm going to go ahead and center it here. There we go. So there is a video, and you can go ahead and have it there for your students. Now, when I go to preview here, the way that it shows up, here's the directions. Watch the video below, then answer the question that follows. And you know, whoever's doing this could go ahead and watch the video and then respond to the question. So that is how you add videos. I'm going to go ahead and close my preview. Go back to editing my questions here. All right, we're going to go ahead and talk now about settings. And up here in the top right hand corner, you have some settings on here. The first one we've already talked about has to do with add-ons. Add-ons are kind of, think of it like extensions or little mini programs that can work with in forms. An example would be, let's say you create a quiz and you can actually get some add-ons to automatically grade it for you and create grades for you. So a lot of different powerful add-ons that you can check out, but again, that's not level 1, so I'm going to go ahead and skip right through it. This one we've already talked about, is to customize the theme. This is to preview the what your form is going to look like when people are responding. And finally, we have this settings icon on here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that settings icon. And when we get into here into settings, you have three choices on here. You have general, and here's the options on here. Under general, you have the option to limit who can answer questions on here. So for example, if you want to collect email addresses from the people that are responding, you can go ahead and check that off. You can also, you can also restrict who is completing the form. So in this case, right now, it's restricted to people in the Alisal Union School District, but I can go ahead and uncheck that so that anybody can do that. You can limit how many responses they can have, and a couple of other options on here. So that's under general. Okay. Under presentation, you have a few options on here too. You can go ahead and show, if it's a long form especially, you might want to show like how far along they are through the form. You probably have seen that in surveys that tell you how many more questions you have or what percentage of the form or the survey you've completed. You can also shuffle the questions. This can be pretty powerful if you have students and you don't want all the questions to show up in the same order, perhaps randomize them so you can shuffle them. You can check that off. And then if you wanted people to be able to respond again, what you can do is you can go ahead and leave this on so that when they're done responding, it can show a link so that they can fill it out again. Perhaps they have multiple, they need to submit multiple responses. You can leave that on here. You can also leave a little, your own message on here. The default is your response has been recorded, but you can go ahead and type in your own personal comment on there. Thank you for completing this form. There you go. So there's my personal one. All right, and then you would click save. Make sure you save it on there so that it remembers it. Oops, I'm going to go ahead and open it back up on here. Settings. So we did general, presentation, quizzes. Quizzes is not a part of level 1 certification, but it's a pretty cool tool for teachers, and it allows you to create quizzes from student from the forms, and it even allows you to automatically grade them. So especially those questions that are multiple choice or selected response and so forth. But that is a more complicated, more advanced feature, so we're not going to spend time on that. But those are options here. All right, let me go ahead and click save here. So now you'll notice that, so those are the settings. Before we get to this part on here where it says send, this big button on here, we're going to go ahead and go through these three dots. Hopefully you've recognized it in Google. When you see these three dots, that means that you have more options. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that so you can see what that looks like. All right, you have more options on here. You can undo. So if you remember, just like in Google Docs and in Google Slides, there's an undo button. If you make a mistake, you can come in here and undo your actions that have come before so that you can undo any mistakes that you might have made. Okay. All right. You can also make a copy, and make a copy allows you to make a copy of this form. You can move it to trash, throw it away, and so you have a whole bunch of options on here. You won't really have to change these very much for Google Level 1 certification, except for this little preferences icon on here, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So with that being said, my form is complete. I am ready to get it out to people so that they can complete it for me, whether they're students or families, or teachers. I can go ahead and get that done. So there's different ways to get this to people. The first, to do that, you can click on the send icon on here. And when you do that, you have options on here. You can send it through email. And it's pretty basic on here. First of all, you can have the option to collect their email address on it. So you can send it through email. You just start typing people's email on here. So in this case, if I wanted to send it to my director, I could put Josh Harris. There you go. Joshua Harris. There we go. And then I could go ahead and send it. So I could go ahead and send it to a whole group, or I could send it to one person, and they will get it in their email. You can go ahead and change the subject line. You can go ahead and personalize the message that goes out to them. You can also go ahead and include the form in the email on here. But so those are, that is if you want to send it to particular people through email. All right. So I'm not going to go ahead and send it. I'm going to go ahead and go here to The other way, besides email, that you can get this to people is to get a link. So if you click on the link, it gives you this big long link here that you can go ahead and share with anybody, and they'll be able to complete the form. The other thing that you can do is you can shorten it a little bit. So if you click this little shorten URL, it will turn it a little bit shorter, still really long, but you know, it is a little bit shorter, and you can go ahead and copy and paste it, or get it to the people that want to fill it out. And again, you can just copy and paste this into an email, copy and paste it on a website, or into a document. So that is one way to do it. The third way that you can have that you can send a form to be completed is through this third option, which is more advanced. This is to embed in a website, to embed it as HTML. So literally, you have all the formatting options on here. You have all the language that you need. All you need to do is click copy, and you would insert it, you would embed it into a website. So for example, last month we learned about creating our first Google websites, and you could embed Google Forms for students or parents or families, or you know, people to fill out on a website. So you click copy, and then you would paste this into the website. But again, that's a different, more advanced. This is not part of level 1, but it is an option for those of you that would like to start using this along with your Google website. All right. So those are the send options. A couple of the things that I wanted to show you is there may be times when you want to collaborate with somebody on a form, and that can also be done. To do that, you click on the settings here. Oops, where did it go here? You click here under these options on here, and then you see add collaborators. So here, when you add collaborators, you go ahead and you would type in their name just like you would on a regular doc, and now they could collaborate with you. So forms are also the way when you collaborate, it's a little bit different, but it is possible to collaborate using Google Forms. All right. So now what we need to do is I need to show you what happens, because we've been working, I don't know if you've noticed on it, we've been working with just one section of our Google form. It's a section here that says questions. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but there's also the responses tab on here. So I'm going to click response, and so far you can tell there's 0 responses. You can tell on here. So this is so there's nothing to take a look at. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and then what I will do is I will go ahead and submit some responses so you can see what it looks like to submit responses, and what options you have once you have some responses from some people. All right, I'm back. So I've gone ahead and submitted some responses to my Google form. So the one thing that you will notice now is that up here on the top right where it says responses, you see that number 7. That means that 7 people have responded to that. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take a look at that data. So again, right now I'm underneath question. I'm going to go ahead and click on responses, and let's see here, and then it will actually tell you the answers to the questions on here. So I have and it show you some pretty cool graphs as to how people responded. So I can go ahead, and notice that right now you see this is under the summary tab. So this is summary of all the data together, but I can also go ahead and take on each individual person. So if I wanted to see how Jack answered, I could click individual, and then take a look at this is Jack, and these are all of Jack's answers. Jack likes pie, his favorite season is spring, and Jack has 1 sibling. So as you can see there, again, summary is all of them together, or individual, you can go ahead and have them together. You can also go ahead and notice there's 7 here, 1 out of 7. I can go ahead and move through the next one. Here's Jill, Lisbeth, Jorge, Sofia, and Anna, and so forth. But anyway, that is a summary on here. So the one thing also that I wanted to let you know is that right now, if you take a look on it, it says accepting responses. If I flip this switch here, nobody else will be able to respond anymore, not accepting responses, and they will actually get this message when they try to when they try to click on the link. This form is no longer accepting responses. So again, that's how you turn it on and off on here. So right now I'm accepting responses. Here you go, not accepting responses anymore. So there's where the data is. Like I said, I really like the fact that it shows these graphs on here. It shows visually the data, but you can also access this data from a Google Sheet. So see this little Google Sheet icon here on the top right hand side. You can go ahead and click on that, and you'll get a couple of choices there on here. You can create a new spreadsheet and it'll name it for yourself, or you can choose to name it something else. This is going to be the name of my spreadsheet. Usually the name of the spreadsheet will be whatever your form is called, and it'll say responses afterwards. Or you can select an existing spreadsheet. Go ahead and create a new spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and create it. And then what it'll do is it'll do a little bit of work, and then it'll open up a Google Sheet with all the data for your form. So you know, this, you can go ahead and manipulate this data to organize it in a way that makes sense to you, or for whatever you're trying to fill the you know, to fill the need of whatever you're trying to use the form for. The one little piece I just realized is right now looking at this data that I forgot one little piece that I forgot to mention. So I'm going to go back to my form on here, and instead of response, I'm going to go to questions. And what I can do is I can go ahead and still continue to edit my questions. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and click here under name. What is your name? You can choose whether the questions are required or not. So if you want this question that they have to answer before they can submit a form, you can go ahead and turn that on. Some of the questions, sometimes you may want them required, sometimes you may want them to be optional. So you can go ahead and flip that over so that whoever is completing the form has to answer these questions before they can submit it. If they try to submit a question without all these responses, they will not be able to. And what allowed me to realize that earlier was that if you take a look here on Anna, what is your favorite, and let's see if I can fix this here. Let me go ahead and wrap this. What is your favorite type of dessert? Notice that Anna didn't answer anything on here, and that was okay. She was able to submit her form because the question was not required. So now that I've changed my settings on my form so that all questions are required, she would no longer be able to submit that if she tried again. All right. Well, that was a Google form, creating a Google form from start to finish with some of the basic features that are in this Google app. I hope it was helpful, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me.